Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everyone and their mom's cat is talking about it, and it's been sitting untouched on my Kindle for almost a year. It's embarrassing. It really is. So I decided to start this series on my YouTube channel so that I'd finally have to sit down and read this book. It took me about 4 hours to read this book, and now I can give you, my favorite freelancers, the literal TLDR, biggest lessons learned from this book to help you make more money. And I'm hopefully gonna do this in less than 20 minutes, but it depends on how long I ramble. Welcome to Business Book Club with your host, Adea, a self-proclaimed very speedy reader. That's my only qualification. In our BBC series, we read books so you don't have to. We are spark notes for business, making you look good in front of your peeps and helping you make more money in your business. So basically the premise of Atomic Habits is that teeny tiny habits can result in huge, humongous changes in your life. They are the little rocks that pile up to trigger that big avalanche. And many times we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. But on the contrary, doing cool stuff and creating a life that you love is not really about making huge leaps, making life-changing, terrifying decisions, but it's the combination of small, tiny steps and 1% improvement. So if you want to build a wildly successful freelancing business and never have to go back to a dreaded cubicle office job again, it's not really about quitting your job willy-nilly and leaping into the unknown. That won't get you there. It is in the tiny little steps, every application you send, every client you reach out to, every cold pitch you send, every task you complete as a freelancer that will actually get you to where you want to go. And I don't know about you, but as a risk-averse, anti-big leaper, this is music to my ears. So this book essentially explains how habits work, how to reinforce good habits, and how to slowly release the bad ones. All right, here are the 7 biggest takeaways to help you, freelancer, make more money. The biggest lesson I took out of this book is to trust in the process. So James says habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, aka you have to trust the process long enough to allow the compound interest of your hard work to happen. You have to let it build up enough. And I think my hands want to participate in this video more than I want them to. And I know this is really hard. I know it's really hard to trust in the process because your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits, aka results are not instant when you're just starting a new habit, like going to the gym or beginning to build a business. And that is why so many people quit early on. Like, I've been building this business for 2 weeks, like why are there no sales? Or me, I've done half a sit-up, where's the 16-pack as promised? So you won't really notice your habits having any impact until you cross a magical threshold. Because when you first begin doing something, there's often no obvious progress and you hit a valley of disappointment. James says this thing is called a plateau of latent potential. And when you make it past this plateau, that's when people will call you an overnight success. So boom, motivated? Keep this graph in mind when you're starting something new. If you're feeling demotivated, it's totally normal. Just keep going. And the star quote here is, you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. So food for thought for freelancers. Are you expecting results too fast? Are you expecting to sign your first client this week? Are you expecting to land the very first job application that you send out? So for me in freelancing, I told myself I would give myself 3 months to give it a full try before calling it quits. And it took me 20 proposals to land my first client. And it took me years to hit 6 figures as a freelancer. So it wasn't really an overnight success. It was an over 1,200 night success. So can you set the expectation that there will be a valley of disappointment and how you can continue through it regardless? Now, this lesson is not really new for those of us that are system fiends, but I do like to repeat it a lot as it has made a huge difference in my life. So the difference between goals and systems are goals are the things you want. Systems are what will get you there. So a goal without a system is just a dream, a blind, hopeless pipe dream. A system, however, creates a repeatable plan to get you to that goal. So a goal is, for example, I want to land my first client. A system is, I'm going to send out 10 cold pitches a day for 2 weeks and follow up twice with every single one. So I'm personally very anti-goal, and I agree with James. He mentions that goals create a very either or conflict. Like either you accomplish the goal and everything is great, or you don't, and then it's like everything is horrible, you're a big failure, you're disappointed, and all this stuff. So what actually works better is if you create a process or a system that you can find enjoyment in and day out. Then it's not really about arriving somewhere amazing, it's about the amazing process of getting to do the thing, the journey of it. Very cheesy, I know. And this is the most motivating quote of the entire book. It's from Bill Walsh, and it is, "The score takes care of itself." Oh my gosh, this quote I have been repeating all day, every single day to myself. What it basically means is when you have good systems in place, eventually everything is gonna work out. The results will come. When you have good practices, good processes, good consistency, eventually the results speak for themselves. And I honestly want to chisel this quote into my brain right now, because whenever I'm spending another like 10 hours scripting a YouTube video, I just tell myself the score takes care of itself. The score takes care of itself. Enjoy the process. So when you're sending out another cold pitch, another job application, just remind yourself the score takes care of itself eventually. And the star quote here is, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Yes. So, food for thought for freelancers. Do you have real concrete systems, processes, repeatable things you do to support your lofty goals? If your goal is to land 3 clients, what systems do you have in place to actually get you there? What are you doing on the daily? If your goal is to charge $50 an hour, what systems do you have in place to get you to charging that rate? What is actually going to be step 1, step 2, step 3 that will get you there? Create a system based on that. And on the other side of that, the flip side, how can you create systems for your clients so they can achieve their goals better? And when they achieve their goals better, they have better testimonials for you, probably more work for you, thus more cash monies for you. So instead of just creating random income goals like we want to make $1 million this year, instead think about what would we need to do every single day, every single week, every single month to actually make $1 million, and then create a repeatable system for them so that they can actually have a chance to get to where they want to go. And then you'll get the credit for that. This one's such an interesting lesson here. James basically says that to truly change your habits, you have to change your identity. The only way to be consistent and stick with your habits long term is that those habits become who you are. So the more you do them, the more cemented that new identity becomes. So for example, you might not feel like a freelancer right now. A freelancer is maybe not part of your identity, but every time you take on a new freelance client, every time you do a freelance project, every time you send out an invoice or a contract to a new freelance client, you're slowly taking on and embodying that identity of I am a freelancer. And the only way you're going to stay consistent with those freelancing habits is to say I am a freelancer and truly become that person who does those things on a regular basis. And I really like that because I think that speaks to imposter syndrome as well, because of course you're not going to be good at something or feel like it's part of your identity when you've just begun, but eventually as the habits start to build up and you get better and better and more practice, that imposter feeling slowly goes away because those habits then begin to create this new identity for yourself. You get what you repeat. Love that. And I really like one example he gives as well, which is the habit of negative thoughts. If something intimidating in your life comes up and your immediate response is always to think, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm so stupid, that is a habit that you're training as well. The thought process of I can't do it, and then allowing that habit, like that mental pattern, to become your identity as somebody who thinks that they truly can't do something. Boom, that one made me think. So the star quote here is, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence for your new identity. And I love this one. Are you becoming the type of person you want to become? That's profound. So food for thought for freelancers. The question you should ask yourself is, who is the type of person that does what I want? Who is the type of person that becomes a successful, booked out freelancer? What does that person do daily, weekly, monthly? And then create those habits for yourself to transform into that person. This is a great exercise to journal on, honestly. If you have 10 minutes, pull open a Google Doc and just start free writing on who is the type of person that becomes a successful freelancer? What are they doing every day? What are they doing every week? What are they doing every month? Do they apply to jobs every day? Do they keep going even after they get rejected? Do they work on becoming more valuable as a freelancer by doing skills training every week and by watching Daya's videos? So journal on that whenever you get a chance, because I think it will really give you some good realizations for habits that you want to put in place if this is something you want to be serious about. Another huge lesson that I took out of this book is that we are lazy. I'm gonna source myself on this, like I am so lazy sometimes. And we will take the path of least resistance whenever we can. So use that to your advantage. Make things easier for yourself. Make the good stuff easier and the bad stuff harder. Reduce friction. If you have a huge, overwhelming project that isn't getting done, God, make it easier for yourself, right? Break it down into 15-minute tasks. So Clear has a 2-minute rule. He says when you start with a new habit, it shouldn't take longer than 2 minutes. Love that, super easy. So the goal is really just to make it as easy as possible to begin. You don't want a new habit to be difficult or feel stressful or overwhelming. So for example, if you want to get up at 5 a.m. and currently you get up at 9 a.m., don't just immediately switch to 5 a.m. That's going to be too overwhelming and too difficult. Instead, try 8:45 and then after a week, 8:30, so on and so forth. If you want to start freelancing, don't think about how you have to sign 30 clients to be fully booked or all this stuff. Just think about that first client, that first 15-minute task. What are you going to do with those 15 minutes? Make it small and make it easy. And really, he says, when you're trying to start a new habit, like freelancing, the point is not to do it perfectly or to do 5 hours a day every single day. The point is just to build the habit of showing up. So he gives this example that I really like of a person who goes to the gym just for 5 minutes every time. So they create the gym going habit before they even work on staying longer at the gym and doing actual working out. Some other helpful tips on this. The secret is to always stay below the point where it feels like work. Love that. And it's better to do less than you hoped than nothing at all. Boom, motivated. So how to make things easy for yourself. Make your environment more conducive. If you want to journal first thing in the morning, open your journal on your desk with a pencil right next to it the night before. Remove friction. If you want to eat watermelon, but you hate cutting watermelon, buy pre-cut watermelon. That's such a dumb life hack, but it's a hashtag true story. I am now eating probably an unhealthy amount of watermelon. I don't know. We will see what happens. And also make the task simpler and less overwhelming. So make a smaller 10-minute commitment instead of saying, I need to finish all the tasks under the almighty sun in the next 2 hours or I'm a failure and none of this even counts for anything. And I want to share a real business example. So back in 2020, I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to make an online course, but this course was a monster mega Godzilla-sized course. It was super, super overwhelming. It was basically everything I learned for 5 years packed into one course, and I had no clue how I was gonna do it. So I made a rule. I would work on it for 15 minutes a day, even if it was just thinking about it for 15 minutes. Super easy. I could do 15 minutes a day, right? And eventually that habit was so ingrained in me that I would sometimes end up working 2 hours on it. And now that course has brought in multiple 6 figures and is the foundation of my business. And it was because I made it stupid easy for me to do it, because otherwise I would not have done it. And the star quote here is, the greater the friction, the less likely the habit. So food for thought for freelancers. If you're trying to start freelancing, how can you make it easier? Can you just commit to 10 minutes a day of working on it, or telling one person about your freelancing offers every week? And flip that on the flippity flip. How can you make things easier for potential clients to say yes to you? How can you make it easier for them to work with you? How can you reduce friction for people to give you money? The easier it is to give money to you, the more likely you will get that bread. I wish I had bread. I like this lesson a lot. It talks about how we as humans used to live in a very immediate return environment, like where we decided to sleep at night or what berry we decided to pick and eat resulted in like an immediate return or consequence. But now we live increasingly in a delayed return environment where returns are delayed. For example, investing in an index fund, working for a job promotion, saving your money, all of those things require tons of time before we see any results. And unfortunately, our teeny tiny little brains still like those fast rewards versus far away, maybe one day rewards. And that sucks because bad habits have fast rewards with long-term consequences, and good habits have annoying immediate consequences with long-term rewards. You see how it's tricky? So the star quote is, the costs of your good habits are in the present, the costs of your bad habits are in the future. Boom, thoughtful. Quick tip here, Clear says that the most effective form of motivation is progress. So he actually shares this paperclip strategy where this guy basically started with 100 paperclips on his desk in one box, and every time he made a sales call, he moved a paperclip from one box to another as a reward. And when I read that, I was like, that's so dumb. Like, that's hardly a reward to move a paperclip from left to right. But then I realized, like, I eagerly look forward to dragging my YouTube scripts from script in progress to ready to film, like thinking about it now, I'm already so excited. Like the dopamine from awaiting the moment I get to drag that over is so powerful. It gets me writing those scripts. So another example of that is I love checking things off a list. Who doesn't, right? If that doesn't get me all fired up. So food for thought for freelancers. How can you measure your progress? How can you measure the little magical steps you're making? Can you make yourself a little to-do list of like very small things and tick it off every time you land a client or finish a task? It can even look like, reach out to one family friend and tell them about my freelancing services, or sign up for a freelancing platform. And then you can tick those off and it will feel so good. We did that for our YouTube channel as well. And I'll show you what our little tiny wins look like in the beginning. It was so motivating. So now let's talk about when habits break down. What happens when you forget a day? What happens if you miss doing Pilates once or twice or 3 times? James says it's so simple. Never miss twice. The first mistake is never the one that ruins you. It is the spiral of repeated mistakes that follows. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. And this one was a tough one for me because I always fall into an all or nothing mindset, which is not helpful for anyone, obviously. And the star quote is, the problem is not slipping up. The problem is thinking that if you can't do something perfectly, then you shouldn't do it at all. All my perfectionists in the house say, hey, we have a problem. I love that lesson. All right, another short lesson. Get accountability. So James introduces this concept of a habit contract, which is kind of like a verbal or written agreement where you say what you're going to commit to, so a particular habit or something like that, and what's going to happen if you don't follow through with it. So you can set something like that up with a friend. If I don't do this, then this happens. You both sign it. And I love this example that he gave also of an entrepreneur who wants to wake up at 5:55 every morning. Can't relate. And he made an automation that if he doesn't get up at that time, a tweet automatically goes out saying, it's 6:10 and I'm not up because I'm lazy. Reply to this for $5 via PayPal, limited to 5 people, assuming my alarm didn't malfunction. That would definitely work for me. I would be so embarrassed. I would be up at like 5:45 checking the automation to make sure it doesn't fire. So food for thought for freelancers. How can you get more accountability from the public, from your friends, from peers? Can you get an accountability buddy? Something I like to do if I'm overthinking and stuck in like the planning and I'm not taking action is I just put a poll out on Instagram or my private Facebook group or my student Slack community, and it kind of holds me accountable publicly to make a decision and move forward. Can you bet your friend $100 that you'll send out 50 job applications this month? Might be fun. It's a good bet on yourself. So yeah, those are the 7 most important things that I think are worth talking about and pulling out of this book. But please feel free to discuss with me. What did you think of these lessons? Was this interesting, helpful, dumb? Let me know. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.